Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Time and temperature check. It is currently 5:40 p.m. and it is 75 degrees outside. I've been trying to convince myself all day long to go to the pool. So I think that when I get done with this, I'm gonna see if my neighbor wants to go to the pool because we talked about it last night. And it's 75, but I'm like, I think I can get in the pool for like 5-10 minutes and be all bleachy and chlorine-y, you know, not bleachy, but you know, chlorine smelling. Then come home and put my pajamas on, take a little nap, watch some shows, some Schitt's Creek with Alex tonight. Alex has been gone actually all day long. He had a Zoom meeting. I thought he had to go to this, but he had a Zoom meeting this morning at 9 o'clock. Then he had to take his car in today. Got that done. Then he had a meeting this afternoon that he had to go into work for that was like, it ran like 2.5, 3 hours. He just got done with that, and then he was taking some tables over to his friend's house that's having a open house on Sunday for her daughter graduating from high school. Or he's taking over to her sister's house that is hosting the open house on Sunday, I guess. So, and then he said he would be home after that. So I've been filming some videos today, and I was like, you know what, it's the last day of the month, maybe I'll just take it a little bit easy today and things like that. Maybe I'll go to the pool. It has been kind of cloudy today. It hasn't been like a great pool day, but I was like, it was earlier in the day, it was a little bit warmer than it is now. But I'm going to the pool today. I'm going to the pool. I gotta just start forcing myself to go to the pool because I know August will come, the pool will be closing, and I'll be like, I'm so sad. I miss going to the pool. This is what's left over of my iced coffee that I was drinking earlier today. So we'll finish this off and vlog for a little bit. This won't be a long vlog today. I just want to like kind of catch up and say, hey, what's going on and stuff like that. I have to tell you what just happened before I came out here. So I had a different shirt on that I was filming my videos in. I wore my shirt that's Jessica Lange in American Horror Story. I think it's Murder House. It's her in Murder House. It was like this cartoon that I got of her from that Swiss embassy. My neighbor's garage door is still open. Swiss Embassy website that I love, all their t-shirts. And so I was like, it's a little tight. So I was like, I want to be a little bit more comfortable, so I put this t-shirt on. So I went upstairs. Well, Boo Radley was like sitting next to me while I was doing like one of my videos, but then the next video he kept on like moving around the bed. So sometimes I put his little bed out in the hallway and then I close the door and then he just sleeps out there while I'm filming videos. And then when I'm done, I open the door and he comes back in. Well, when I like opened the door, he didn't go back in, he just stayed in his bed. And so when I went upstairs to go change my shirt, then he got up and he was like stretching and stuff like that. And so I like ran up real quick to get my shirt and I ran back down real quick, and that was when he was stretching. And you know like when dogs like shake like that, like you know how they do it? Like, so he was like, he must have been shaking like that because all of a sudden I heard something that sounded like, well not like that, it sounded like a knock. And it must have been his tail going against the door because like when he was shaking. Because I was like, who is in the house knocking? Like, it scared the hell out of me. At first I was like, is it somebody knocking on the front door? And then I was like, no, that came from upstairs. And then I was like, I mean, in 20 seconds, it went from like total fear, like, is there somebody at the door? Like, who is in the house knocking on? It's like that movie with the babysitter where somebody's in the house, you know? Do you guys remember that movie back in the day? Oh my God, that movie. Where have you checked the children? That movie scared the hell out of me. I've watched that so many times in my life, that movie. And there's a second one too, where the guy's like in her apartment and he's like molded into the wall, like he's painted that way. Oh my God, I think the second one's scarier than the first one. I watched the first one a couple years ago, and it didn't scare me as bad as it did when I was in high school, but or like junior high. But when I was growing up and I watched that movie, Carol, is it Carol? Not Carol King, she's the singer. Carol Kane, is she in that? That's the babysitter, she's so good. And then she grows up, and the murderer comes back. And then her kids are like, the guy calls her at the restaurant and says, have you checked the children, when she's out on a date with her husband. Anyway, that's what I thought. In like 20 seconds, I went, and then I was like, oh, that's just Boo Radley's tail on the door, because it was coming from upstairs. So anyway, it's been a really good day, but it's been kind of like a crazy active, since last 24 hours since I've been here vlogging. So what did we watch last night on TV after I got done vlogging? I don't even remember. I don't remember much from last night at all. What did we watch? Oh, I was uploading videos, and Alex asked me, he was like, do you want to watch the Kardashians this season? Because I guess the Kardashians just started. I was like, I don't really care. I watched it last season, and the only reason I really covered it was to cover it for my reality TV channel, but now I'm I'm not just exclusively doing reality TV over there. I'm just going to cover the shows that I watch. I'm not going to watch shows I don't want to watch just to cover them over there. And so, I mean, I'm glad I watched that one season with him. It was kind of fun, but it's so, like, it's so superficial and vapid, and he's watched it from the very beginning. I have no interest, really, in the Kardashians. I mean, I know a lot about them, but they're not somebody that I'm really that interested in. But I say that, but then I was sitting at the computer, and I was, like, getting done, like, rendering my vlog and getting it stuff, and so I was kind of, like, listening to what was going on. The first episode for the season, they're in Paris. Kendall has fashion shows she's doing. Kim's, of course, so busy. Kim Kardashian's the busiest person in the world. And then, so Kris and her boyfriend Corey go to Paris, and now Kendall is the face of L'Oreal Paris, I guess. And so there's this whole show under the Eiffel Tower. It was actually very cool. So I say that I could care less, but then I watch it, right? So I'm kind of like turning towards the TV. Oh my God, the allergies. And I even took my medicine. My throat has been itching me so bad today. So when I'm sitting at the dining room table, which we never use as a dining room table, we just use it to work at. When I'm sitting there on my computer facing this way, we have that huge mirror where is above the couch where Alex lays. And the mirror, you can like see the TV in. So I looked like this way to the mirror and I watched the TV. So I was like listening to it and watching it. So finally I just like went over there. Well, I was really ready for the first episode to be done because we watched Lit. I wanted to watch Lit. I didn't know it was the season finale of Lit, but this week was the season finale of Lit. So I was like, okay, I was gonna take a nap because I was so tired. I was like, I'm gonna wait until this Kardashians is done. Well, the first one got done, and so I laid there. Well, I laid in that chair and watched like the last 30 to 40 minutes of it. And so the thing came on, and it was like the next one. I was like, what's this? I said, is the whole season out? He goes, no, just 2 episodes. So we watched the second episode of the Kardashians. Gary Jerry, the Golden Bachelor, is going to be on next week because Kendall's like obsessed with him or something like that. They feed it out. Now I have to watch it next week because she said she sees things on his phone that she shouldn't see. And I'm like, what did she see on his phone that she wasn't supposed to see? Kendall's actually probably my favorite of all of them because she's like the most like down to earth and real. I do like Kris Jenner too, but I mean, from a reality show standpoint, it's not like I think she's the greatest person in the world, but I don't know, there's something like funny about it. They're so like, they're hard to kind of relate to, you think? I don't know, Alex loves it. I just sit there and watch it because of him. So then after that we watched Loot, the season finale, and it was good. Loot always ends, like they must just assume they're gonna get renewed because they always end on like a cliffhanger, and of course this one did too. But Loot is a great show if you're not watching it. So we watched that. And then Alex pulled up Schitt's Creek. And Schitt's Creek, like we've been on this episode for a couple days now. And he was like, oh, this is a really good one. I go, babe, I have to lay down. I was like, I'm so tired and I have to watch On Golden Pond tonight because I haven't watched it yet. And tomorrow's movie club day. And so I want to watch On Golden Pond tonight. So I was getting ready to lay down, and I talked to Tanya on the phone, and Tanya was like, I have not been able to move off this couch. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, I worked today and did some stuff, and then, was this before I vlogged, or was it after I vlogged? I feel like it was after I vlogged. She's like, I started this show that just came out on Netflix, and it is so good. She's like, I literally can't stop watching it. I go, what's it called? And she goes, it's called Eric. And I said, oh, I just put that on my list because it looked good. She goes, I said, is it like a thriller? She goes, yeah, it's a thriller. She goes, it is so good. She goes, I haven't watched a show this good in so long. I can't stop watching it. So last night, my plan was to watch On Golden Pond and then Eric. Well, I got up, and it was a nice summer night outside. The birds were out. It was a little cooler, but I had to finally go inside because it was too cold. It started getting too cold. The temperature dropped, but it was kind of like humid. It just felt very summery out here, and to see the trees and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna watch On Golden Pond outside last night, and I just loved it. It was so fun. And I sat out here, I was like a half an hour into it, and my neighbor next door, she and her friend were repotting plants in the garage. This was like at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. So, she was like, they were like out here doing stuff like in the yard, like putting some of the extra dirt like right around the corner from me. And her friend, who used to be her roommate that used to live there, she like peeked her head around the corner and she goes, what are you doing? And I go, I'm watching a movie. And I was like, is it too loud? She goes, we can't even hear you over here. Because I had I didn't have my AirPods on, I had it turned up. And she was like, we can't even hear you over here. We saw that your light was off, so we didn't even think, because I turned the light off so I could see it would be like, you know, pitch black out here. She's like, it was so quiet over here, we didn't even think that you were sitting over here. And I was like, okay. She goes, can we come over and talk for a little bit? And I was like, yeah. And so my neighbor and her old roommate, who's one of her good friends, they came over, and her friend's like a NICU nurse, and so she was telling me about what she changed where she was working, so it's different from when she was living there. So she had this beautiful dog and stuff. So she sat in the chair, and my neighbor sat down there on the step, and they sat here for like an hour and a half and talked. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was like summer back in the day when I was growing up, you know, when you sit on the front porch and just talk for hours. It was so much fun. And then finally, her friend was like, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. I was like, well, you can use my bathroom. She was like, no. She's like, I need to go to the bathroom and get something to eat. And so she was staying over there last night. They were having so much fun. And so I talked to my neighbor. I was like, do you want to go to the pool this week? Because she's like, I need to get to the pool, like, more. Like, we were complaining so much about it being open. I was like, well, I'm going to try to go tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. And she was like, okay, well, text me or call me, and then I'll go up there with you. And I was like, okay. So, see, now there's kind of a cool breeze. But I'm like, I'm going anyway. I'm getting in the pool. I don't care if I just, like, do a polar plunge, and I'm out. Like, I'm getting in the pool today. So, I'm going to text her when I get done with this vlog. So, right now, I filmed a drama video. I filmed, which ended up just being kind of the second part of this Q&A. I was like, I'll wait till do the drama again till this weekend, till June. And then I filmed Peter's Movie Club and announced the movie for this week, which I'm really excited about watching. And then I filmed a Peterisms video, and then which was kind of an interesting topic, the direction that it went in. And then I filmed a Peter Watches TV video about that documentary that somebody recommended to me, and then I ended up watching it on Paramount, called Control Alt Desire, about the Grant Amato case, where I went to high school with this guy whose name was like, it's not like similar to that at all, but it sounded like Grant Amato sounds kind of like his name. It was Greg something, and so I always like say Greg when I say Grant Amato now, when I'm telling people about this. So I did the video about that. My drama video is uploading, and then the movie club video is uploading, and then the Peterisms video and the TV video are rendering right now. And I was going to go up to the pool and then come back and vlog, and I was like, no, just get everything done. Just get everything done, then you can stay at the pool as long as you want, and then when you come back, it'll all be uploaded, and you can just like post. So that's my plan. And then we don't have any shows to watch tonight. Well, I have shows to watch. Alex, what did he tell me he's going to start watching? Oh, he was like, I'm going to start watching Palm Royale. I was like, well, I really want to sit outside and watch that, so you just watch it yourself and I'll watch it. And he was like, okay. Oh, tonight we have RuPaul's Drag Race. So well, it kind of depends. We sometimes wait till the next day to watch it. So we might watch RuPaul's Drag Race tonight. And then next week, Real Housewives of Dubai starts. So that'll be 2 shows that we're watching, because Loot ended this week. I've watched so many shows this year, you guys. I'm at like 100 shows I've watched already in 2024. So I sat out here and I watched the first half of On Golden Pond. I had like 2 cups of coffee, and it was so fun watching it. I mean, it's such a great movie to start the summer off to. It's very sad. I mean, it's a sad movie. But it's also just, it's a really endearing, sweet movie as well. And it's a lot about, like, if you've never watched it before, it's like relationships with your parents and things like that, and getting older, and this lake house they go to every summer that's on Golden Pond. And Katharine Hepburn's listening to the loons, and the whole time that I'm watching it, the birds are chirping out, you know, like, well, not chirping, but there was like birds that were, like, you could hear over by the lake and stuff like that. So it was nice. And so about halfway through it I got it kind of cold out here. I actually had this t-shirt on, then I had like a long sleeve t-shirt over it, but I had shorts on. I have these tie-dye shorts on, these tie-dye sweat shorts. My neighbor across the street, she thought, here, I'll show them to you. They're not pretty at all. But she thought that they were. She was like, do you have your swim trunks on? I was like, no. I love when people call them swim trunks. I was like, no, they're sweat shorts. She was like, I like those. Those are pretty. That's what my neighbor across the street said. They're so comfy. I don't even know where I got them. I think I got them at Meijer like a couple years ago, and they didn't start fitting me until I lost weight. And now they're like almost kind of too big on me, but they're super comfortable. So anyway, so about halfway through the movie, I went inside and I finished the movie. Well, then when it got done, I was going to watch Eric, but I was like, I really want to watch the Jinx 2. Like, I wanted to watch it since I heard that it was coming out. So I started watching the Jinx 2 last night. It's a 6-part series. The Jinx, if you don't know, is about Robert Durst, the real estate developer from New York City that killed 3 people, allegedly. His wife in '82, his friend Susan Berman in 2000, and then this guy in Galveston, Texas, who he like decapitated and cut up in 2001. And so they've really never been able to get him. Like the Galveston one, he like was found not guilty. So the other 2 cases, like he's never like whatever. Well, at the end of the Jinx, the first Jinx. If you've never watched the Jinx, the true crime documentary, it's fantastic, and I won't ruin it for you. But the end of the first, because that stuff all happens, like nothing I told you will like ruin the show for you. But in the last episode of the last, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, but in the last episode of the Jinx, the first one, like the last 30 seconds, something happens that is like the surprise of the century, and like you don't expect it coming, and it's very incriminating. So he's passed away. I think he passed away a couple years ago, but and he in jail he passed away. So they start the Jinx 2 talking about how he got apprehended based on what happened in the last episode. He was on the run. He had $80,000 in cash, guns, drugs. He had a mask that he was trying to go to Cuba with, this like latex mask that was like, they showed it on somebody on a boat, and I thought anybody would believe that was really a person. Like, it was so crazy. But anyway, so the first episode is really about them like showing how they apprehended him and how the director of the show like turned in the information to law enforcement and stuff like that. And they interview this guy that does closed cases for LA County. It was really, really interesting. I need to text Emily Baker because she used to work for LA County. I was going to ask her if she knew this guy because he's really like a neat guy, this detective. And so they show, that's the whole first episode, and then at the end of the first episode, they do like an airing of the last episode from the one with like all the families of the victims and like people that were involved in it, like writers that were like journalists for magazines and like detectives that worked on the cases back in the day. They have them all over to like the director's apartment, and they have them show it, and they like don't know what's coming up in like the last 30 seconds, but you do because you've watched it, right? And it's like it's like crazy, like, and it goes everywhere, right? So I mean, it's been all over the news. I could say it, but I don't want to ruin it for, because I did not know it when I watched it. When I watched that last 30 seconds, I was like, oh my, I mean, it is literally like one of those scenes, like in a movie, true crime documentary. It was like, the thing about the Jinx is, it almost feels like you're watching a movie, because it's like so absurd that you're like, and he gets away with all this stuff, that you're like, this is like a movie, like this can't be real life, but it is, right? And it shows about money and power, and how he gets away with all this stuff, because he's so privileged. Oh, my neighbor just left. She better be coming home, because we're going to go to the pool. Or I'm going to have to call my neighbor on the corner. I know she didn't want to go to the pool because it's 75 degrees. I'll make Alex go up there with me. I mean, who else would want to go to the pool that would actually, like, Alex will go, but he won't want to get in. She sometimes runs out and then she comes right back home. So maybe by the time I'm done vlogging, she'll be back home. And then I'll be like, oh, there she is again, so I can call. But anyway, if she comes back down, I'm going to stop her. I'm going to be like, stop. I got something to say to you. So I started watching that. The second episode is, so while he's in jail, so he gets caught, I think, in New Orleans. While he's in jail, he starts, like, calling, like, all of his friends that have, like, protected him for years. And the detective in Los Angeles is, like, listening to all the calls. And then so he hires this big attorney that he had from Galveston, Texas, and then they show all that, and they show his wife, this Debbie, that's his, like, second wife. She's bizarre, but anyway. And then the guy the detective in Los Angeles the prosecutor hires all these law students, and he hires these two identical twins that are law clerks to do all the research. And, they're so funny because they're like in suits, and so for fun, while they're looking at all this 150,000 pieces of evidence they have, while they're looking through all of it and trying to get it in order for the prosecutor, they listen to the phone calls of Bob Durst while he's in. So there's one scene they show these two twins, and they were cracking up. They're like, the phone calls are funny to listen to. And they're like, because at first you hear that beep, 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 beep. And that's like, you know, the prison calling the person. They're like, will you accept a collect call? And then at the same time, both the twins go, Bob! It's like hilarious. So I got like halfway through the second episode, and then I was like, okay, I need to go to bed because I want to like be somewhat functioning tomorrow. So I went to bed. Tossed and turned for a while, finally fell asleep, got some sleep. I actually do remember my husband kissing me goodbye this morning. He was like, get some good sleep. He's like, you need it. I was like, oh, thanks. Boo Radley was like sleeping right next to me. He was so sweet. So I got up today, and then yeah, I've just been making videos and stuff like that. So I actually thought that like he, and like since it's Friday, because like when he goes in for meetings, they sometimes go out for like lunch or dinner afterwards. So I actually thought that he would do that. So I was kind of surprised that they didn't go to dinner. But it's one that he works with. It's her daughter's open house, so she's like all like frantic trying to put that all together and stuff like that. I remember like after graduation, I don't remember having an open house. Is that like a newer thing in the last like 20 years, 10 years? I mean, I feel like everybody that I know that graduates has an open house. Alex and I have gone to so many open houses for our friends' kids in the last, you know, God, 10 years. I feel like the open house thing is kind of a new thing. I don't remember when I was in high school, like people having open houses. Maybe they did graduation parties. I feel like graduation parties was more like, but anyway, maybe they did. I don't know. I remember after I graduated, I should see if I still have this tie. So when I graduated, my mom really wanted me to wear a tie. So I was like, okay, but if I'm going to wear a tie, I'm going to pick whatever tie I want. So I wore this tie. I have a picture of it somewhere if I don't have the tie. Of me and standing there with my mom with this tie on. The tie has all of these like men in suits that have fish heads on them. I thought it was really cool. But I remember after graduation going back to my house, and it was like my mom, my Aunt Kathy, Uncle Dave, Caroline. I don't think my dad and my stepmom came over. They would like sometimes intermingle for stuff, but not typically. I don't think they came over for that. It was my mom, my Aunt Kathy, my Uncle Dave, Caroline, my mom's really good friend that I grew up around, that was one of her sorority sisters, and her daughter. And then it was my mom's aunt and uncle, which I look back on and I think is so weird because, oh, it was another one of my mom's aunts that we were close with her. And my mom, and so, I mean, we weren't super close, but we were closer with them than the other one. What I found out later, which is weird that I look back on this, is that aunt and uncle that were at that thing were the aunt and uncle that my mom had to stay with some summers. I think, I don't think good stuff happened there. My mom would always talk about, my mom was always really weird about food, like at a Easter or Christmas or whatever, and like if people were like eating really fast and taking their plates and they were done, my mom would feel like she was being rushed to eat. And she would share that this uncle of hers, he would, like, it was very mommy dearest. He would, like, have her sit at a table, like, all night long while people were sleeping because she wouldn't eat her food because she couldn't finish eating. And he would say, you're not going to waste food. Like, you're lucky you have that food there, because they were staying with them because my grandma couldn't afford to take care of them. Then later, I think, like, maybe they stopped being willing to take care of my mom and my aunt because my mom and my aunt were in foster care. And I think my mom just remembers, like, maybe, but my aunt, she told me I talked a lot about that in my drama video today. I don't even know how I got into all that, but that aunt and uncle were there, and I can remember them standing there. I even see, like, he had, like, a white shirt and khakis on. He was, like, very, like, nice-looking older man. He was probably 70 at the time or something, and I can just remember him standing there, and I didn't know them very well. I think it's so weird that my mom asked them. I don't know why, but anyway, we had cake and stuff, and then all my friends went to this, like, farm, like, some of my friends kind of started splitting apart, like, my senior year, and there was, like, this friend of ours that we had. I wasn't that close with him, but his mom or grandma or somebody owned this, like, farm out in the middle, and they would call it the farm. They were just going to the farm. And it was, like, this farm out in the middle of nowhere, and they would have, like, bonfires, and they would just, like, drink and, like, do drugs and all this kind of stuff. I was so weird after I graduated. I feel like I wasn't really ready to, like, grow up and move on and things like that, and I was really scared of that, and I knew this was, like, my last summer. That summer, that summer I got really close with this girl that I was friends with just, like, my senior year, and she and I were, like, really good friends for, like, the next 4 years, like, best friends. And she and I, and then the girl that I went to elementary, junior high, high school, college, graduate school, the three of us were all really good friends, went to college. That girl that I'm talking about, she went to IU for a semester, then came back up here and finished in Indianapolis. But the three of us were, like, best friends for, like, the next couple years until I got sober. And my friend from elementary, junior high, high school, she was the one that picked me up from treatment. But I used to drink and party with them a lot. But she was really, really a supportive friend of mine when I got sober. But that summer, after I graduated, I can remember, like, I drank it, like, by myself a lot and partied by myself a lot. But I hung out with the two of them. Yeah, because that was, like, when the Red Wine Girls started. Have I told that story? There was, like, 4 of us, and we called ourselves the Red Wine Girls because we loved that song by UB40, Red, Red Wine. And our one friend had a fake ID, and so she would go to Marsh grocery store, and she would buy Boone's Farm wine. The sangria. That's why in the Boone's Farm Apple Blossom or whatever it was called. And she had a fake ID from this girl that she worked with at Burger King, and the woman's name was Naomi. And so we would beg her to go in, because she was like a year older than us. She graduated like a year before us, and we would be like, please go in. Her name was not Naomi. The fake ID's name was Naomi. It's been 35 years. If people want to go find out, I don't even know Naomi's last name. I never knew Naomi's last name. She was like in the kitchen at Burger King. My friend was like 18 managing that Burger King. She always worked so hard. And I think about that friend of mine a lot. She and I still keep in contact. And she, like, at 15 started working at Burger King, and by 18 was managing the store. Like, I don't think that would be possible today, but back then she was. Like, she wasn't the store manager, but she was like a shift manager. And paid her way through college, was paid. Her mom could not, like work to pay her own bills and stuff like that. So she was paying. Hey, stop. Oh, she's going to come over, she said. She's laughing at me. She, like, in college, paid for mom's house. She ended up, she now, like, manages, like, it's crazy what her job is today. And, you want to go to the pool?
Sure.
Okay, give me, like, a half an hour.
Cool.
I'll text you. Okay. Where were you?
I just went to the store.
You always just run up to the store for, like, a half. She's so cute. Okay, so she, like, paid all her mom's bills. Her mom is, like, one of the sweetest women that I've ever known. But she couldn't work to pay her bills. And so she lived with her mom and paid her bills. Then later, like, bought her mom her house. Then she bought herself a house. She did all this through college, working at Burger King, okay? And then had another job. She now is, like, one of the leading businesswomen in Indiana. I mean, she is, like, massive wealth. And she bought, like, I remember when we were in college, and she was like, I'm buying a boat. She bought her own car, bought her boat, bought her mom a car, and things like that. And she worked so hard. But anyway, so she was the one that had this fake ID, okay, that had Naomi on it. And we would say, Naomi, don't you know me? That's what we would say. We'd be like, please, Naomi, don't you know me? Go in there and get us some Boone's Farm. She hated doing it. She always thought she was going to get so caught, but she never did. So anyway, she didn't look nothing like this Naomi woman. This Naomi woman was probably 42 or something like that. My friend was 17 or 18 or something like that. She must have been 18 if she was a year older than us. But anyway, it's so funny. But yeah, that summer, like, I hung out with them and we would, like, drink. But, like, as far as, like, the hardcore partying, that kind of came after that and was before that. Like, that last summer after I graduated from high school, like, I stuck around home a lot. Like, I was really, I mean, I went with my friends' places and I stayed with my dad and stuff like that. But I feel like, well, I didn't decide until late that I wasn't leaving Indianapolis. I kind of thought that I would leave Indianapolis. I had a couple options to go to school. And then my friend that I grew up with, that friend of mine, I'm not going to say that every single time I talked about her, I'm not going to talk. I should give her a name. I think I did back in the day, Diamond or something like that. But anyway, the friend that I went to, you know, elementary, junior high, high school, whatever, she decided to stay here and go to college. And she got into a lot of schools, and she decided to stay here because her boyfriend was here. And so I was like, if she's not going to go, I think I'm going to stay. Because I was so terrified to move away to go to college anyway. Like, I was scared to death. I was like, I mean, if my social anxiety is bad now, it was horrible when I was, like, in high school. It's not that as bad now as it was, let's say, 10 years ago, but it was really bad in high school. I was terrified of my own shadow. I was scared of everything. And so I didn't go, and I stayed, you know, in Indianapolis. Which, in all honesty, I always felt like if I went to a campus, I would, like, it was just, like, looking back, I can remember, and, like, when I got sober, talking about, like, if I had gone to a campus, I would have, like, just, like, gotten swallowed alive. My addiction would have, like, been 10 times worse. I don't know that I feel that way today. I think going to a city school and having an apartment and at 18 where I could come and go and do whatever I wanted to do and stay out all night long and whatever, like, I think that really contributed greatly to my drinking and my addiction and things like that. Because, I mean, I think, you know, I think if I had gone to a campus, I think I probably would have like failed out in one semester. I think I would have been very, very lonely. I don't know that I would have met people, you know, so I don't know. But anyway, the camera stopped. Stayed in Indianapolis, and the summer before I went to college, I didn't, like, came out. So I came out on my 18th birthday. The day before, I remember I was so, I drank a lot that summer. I just didn't do a lot of, like, really, I did drugs, but I didn't do, like, the hard drugs I had done before and did after that summer. I just was, like, really afraid of, like, growing up. Like, I can remember, like, reading a lot that summer and, like, doing a lot with my mom that summer. But that, before my birthday, I don't remember what we did the night before, but I was so hungover, and I don't know why. So, one of my friends, her birthday is exactly a year, like, she's a year younger than me, but we have the same birthday. And she was a class behind me, and she was one of my best friends. So we must have, because I can remember, she, like, hadn't partied with us and stuff, I don't think. But, like, we couldn't figure out a place for all of us to go eat. This is so strange to me when I look back on it. For our birthdays, and there was, like, a bunch of us that all went out for our birthdays, for she and I's birthday. We went to MCL Cafeteria. I don't remember that. I don't know. I don't remember why we picked that place, but I can remember being at MCL Cafeteria, and I was so hungover. I used to have the worst hangovers ever. I mean, that alone is one reason to never drink again. I always, from, like, day one, had horrible hangovers. And I just was like, oh my god, like, why were we at MCL Cafeteria? I can remember people, like, bringing balloons in there and shit. I was like, no. And then I came out that day to my parents. My hairstylist, so I had gotten a fake ID and been going out to bars that month. And we were going to gay bars. And I'd kind of, like, come out to some of my friends that June. And so that was when my friend was working in the mall. I shared the story the other day on my secrets video. She was working at Lane Bryant, and so she met some gay guys that were working at like kiosks. One of them worked at the Gap and stuff like that. So she became friends with these gay guys that then we would go, like, to Denny's with and stuff. Well, then they were like, okay, why don't you come out to the bars with us? And so I think they knew I was gay, and so, like, I used this one guy's ID to get in, and he lives in Florida now and stuff like that. I haven't seen him in forever, but anyway. And so we started going out to gay bars. Well, my hairstylist and my stepmother and I had the same hairstylist, who is really, really nice. He would never have outed me. In retrospect, I look back, like, he never would have done that to me. He was a super nice guy. But I saw him out, and I talked to him at a bar. And I can remember after that, I was, like, really, really worried. Like, it's so weird to think that, like, in the midst of this, like, total addiction, that I, like, thought through some shit, like, in a pretty intelligent way. Because I can remember, I remember, like, really deliberating and thinking about this. I was like, I don't care if the entire world knows I'm gay. I'm so tired of the fact that all these people have called me gay forever. You know, it was like they stole my story from me because, you know, I've been called gay my entire life. And now I knew, like, I really, like, my last 3 years of high school really worked through a lot of that stuff. I think, you know, middle school, I had already figured that out, and then kind of, like, came into my own, and then had a lot of trustworthy friends that I came out to, you know, after all that. I don't really remember coming out to a lot of people until, like, right after high school. I feel like it was days after high school came out. And I just was like, well, nobody at high school can say anything to me anymore. I'm on my own. Fuck them, right? And so, 25 cents for the customer. So that was when I did it. But I remember really thinking about, like, seeing him out. I'd seen him out on a couple occasions, and he was real nice. But I was like, he's gonna tell my stepmom. And I was like, I don't care who knows that I'm gay. Like, like, this is who I am. I'm gonna live out loud. I'm gonna live my life. I don't care who knows, but I don't want my dad, my stepmom, and my mom hearing it from somebody else. Like, I didn't want somebody at, like, one of my mom's friends or something to be like, oh, well, we heard Peter's gay and he came out. I didn't want to hear my dad and my stepmom wouldn't have cared, but I wanted them to hear it directly from me. I remember I went over to my dad and my stepmom's, and I sat them down. And they were, I mean, it was just, I can remember they just were, like, unbelievably kind about the whole thing. I mean, even kind of making some jokes and stuff like that. My dad is somebody that believes very much in science, and my dad has always said that he was like, I knew that we were going to be dealing with this when you were like 3 or 4. He was like, I had talked to your mom about it, I talked to your stepmom about it, your mom didn't want to believe it, but you know, whatever. My mom had a lot of gay friends, so it wasn't like it was going to be something that was going to devastate her, you know. My parents were so accepting of me. I just like, my coming out story is so boring because I was so scared to say the words, but when I said it to my dad and my stepmom, they just were so loving and so kind, you know. And so supportive, and my dad especially, like, working with a lot of men that were doctors, like, he just didn't put up with any shit. Anybody ever said anything, he'd be like, you're not gonna say that, like, that's ignorant. My dad was, like, always my biggest cheerleader, my biggest champion as far as coming out, walked me down the aisle at my wedding. You know, they love Alex. My dad and my stepmom love Alex, and he loves them so much. And I just am so grateful for that, you know. My mom, it's interesting because I thought that my mom would be the easier of the 3. I thought my stepmom was, I think my dad was kind of ready for the conversation, but my stepmom was the one that kind of like joked a little bit. And I think she made the whole process easier for me. Like, I personally think, like, in that situation, she made it easy for me. My mom, I can remember I went over there for dinner that night for like a birthday dinner. I can see her sitting in the chair, like at the end of the kitchen table, and I brought it up somehow. And I remember I said to my mom something about being bisexual, and she kind of laughed. And she said, like, who are you kidding? I can't remember exactly how she said it, but she was like, who are you kidding? And I was like, what? And she was like, Peter, it's totally fine. Like, we don't need to, like, you know, you're gay. I understand that, all this kind of stuff. My mom said, I'm scared for you. And I said, well, what are you scared at? And you have to remember, this is 1990. I mean, AIDS crisis was like, we were in the middle of the AIDS crisis. It started in the early 80s, and like people were dying left and right. It was like on the news all the time and stuff like that. I immediately thought that's what she meant. And she's like, I'm just really scared for you. And I said, well, Mom, like, I mean, I'm going to be safe. And my mom and I were always very open. My dad and I and my stepmom were very open about things like that. I mean, it wasn't like we shared details with our lives. We never did that. But like, it wasn't like we acted like we weren't sexually active people, you know? And so I said, Mom, I'll be safe. Like, I'm going to, you know, practice safer sex practices and stuff like that. She goes, oh, sweetie, I'm not talking about that. And you know, I think about this, like, my mom's response to this in 1990. My mom, you know, like, when AIDS was such a big deal, and my mom said to me, she goes, if that happens, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, you know? And I think, like, I mean, just that acceptance, right? And, my mom said, I'm scared for you because society is not kind to gay people. And she said, you know, like, always protect yourself. It was actually a really interesting conversation that I had with my mom, and I'm, like, really grateful for it because it is one thing that I've always thought about is, like, protecting my safety at any expense. I mean, there's been, I can't even tell you how many situations in my life where I have felt like, as a gay man, I'm not safe. Like, I'm not safe to walk across this room because I don't know if I'm swishing or how people are going to perceive me. I don't want to speak because people are going to immediately be like, oh, he's gay, you know, and things like that. And so I think, like, when people comment on how I speak or how I walk or being effeminate, and there are effeminate straight men that are straight, but for my story, you know, I fit the stereotype, and I know that, right? And I think it's something that bothered me in my youth. I've accepted that, and I've embraced it today, right? And I think that's why there's a freedom, like, through all the years of us just, like, being overboard with it, right? Like, being too much with it, because it was, like, stepping into our own and embracing it. But that's why when, like, comments are about, like, my voice, or I can't stand his voice, or the way he talks, or why does he sound like a valley girl, or why this, I think what people don't understand about those statements is that those are statements I lived with all my life that led to violence. So when you make comments like that, it's not just passing judgment on how my voice sounds, or that I'm effeminate, or that you think I'm a joke, or you think this is funny. You're making comments of violence, and I don't think people really think it through and they really understand that, right? But when you're in my shoes as a gay man, and you're afraid to fully be yourself, or answer a phone, or speak out loud. Like, I shared this story that years ago I was in a gas station, and I was like the next one in line, and there was like 3 people behind me, and there was this guy that was like, you know, very masculine guy, a couple behind me, you know, and I, as soon as I opened my mouth, he started to laugh, and it was like, I mean, terror just went through me. It was like 3rd grade again. And I think that people don't understand that. It's like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't like people in the LGBTQI plus community. I know there's a lot of accepting people that watch my videos, and I am so incredibly grateful for it. But the reality is that there is just as many people out there that would bash your head in just for being gay. And for trans people, it's 100 times worse. And people don't even try to understand bisexual people. You know, it's like, oh, you have the best of both worlds. They don't even try to understand it as a sexuality concept. And gender and sexuality are completely different. And so then they try to tie it all together and just call it some name and make it dirty when people don't really try to understand it, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I mean, I could get into a whole thing about it, you know, but like today the fight is like, well, I mean, it's kind of a not as big a fight today, but like that we've been leading up to this is like with pronouns and what people want to be called. And I can remember like when that whole thing started, you know, I'm part of the LGBTQI plus community. In all honesty, do you think it was easy for me to catch on to that? I couldn't figure out how to, in all honesty, I couldn't figure out how to use like they, them in sentences and stuff like that. I'm like thinking it through, and I didn't want to be offensive to somebody and whatever, right? But at the same time, it's a respect thing. How somebody identifies and how they choose to be, how they choose to be called or how they choose to be seen, right? Like that's a respect thing, okay? Like you don't have the right to tell somebody how they see. It very much, and that's a gender issue thing, right? But like when we're talking about sexuality, it's the same thing that people would say to me when I was married federally, had a federal or state marriage license that said that I was legally married, and people would say, it's two men, okay? That's not what the Bible says, so I don't respect your marriage. It's all about that person and their belief systems. It really has nobody that's asking for you to respect. It has nothing to do with the person that's asking for you to respect their pronouns. It has nothing to do with me and my husband. It has to do with that own person's hatred and ignorance. So I don't play into that. I'm a person that believes in human respect. And if somebody asks for respect, you respect them as much as you possibly can. I don't understand why that's a huge concept for us. I don't know why we need to have 50 conversations about whatever pronoun, okay? I don't care what somebody wants to be called. If that's what they want to be called, that's what they should be called. That's their business. That's their life. They have one life. They have a right to however they live that life, you know? As long as they are not hurting anybody or hurting themselves, I don't think that anybody has a right to tell them what to do or who to love, personally, you know? People think I get really heated about stuff, you know? It's like, this is something I've lived for my whole entire life, that I've been afraid to walk in unsafe spaces because of who I am as a person, and then somebody wants to like throw something out in a video and go, I can't stand how he talks. Well, those were comments of violence to me when I was growing up, so just be aware of what you're saying, right? Like when people are saying, having conversations that I am not going to respect somebody by the pronouns that they're calling, that very much adds to the conversation of trans people being killed in our country every single day, murdered. People being murdered just for who they are, you know, and that goes all into race and background, you know, and sexuality, and yes, religious belief as well, right? Of like who we are, being murdered for just who you are. Like, I mean, it makes me so sad, you know. Like a couple weeks ago, there was a story I saw online about. I mean, it happens every day. I still haven't put the table together yet, but you know. Every day I see these stories come up of, you know, trans women of color that are murdered, that are beaten to death by like six guys. How do you go to sleep at night? Like seriously, that's my question. How does that person existing, however they live their life, however they identify, how are they just existing hurting you at all? But you're going to end their life. How is me loving my husband, how does that affect your marriage? How does that affect your religiosity? How does that affect your life on any level? My husband and I loving each other. It doesn't affect your taxes, even though we're federally married. It doesn't affect your taxes. It doesn't affect anything of anybody else out there. So why is it it has nothing to do with anybody else's business out there. I've said this for a very long time with some of these people out there, and I know I'm not talking to my audience right now because I know that you guys love me, and I appreciate that, right? And I feel like you guys are allies. I really do. But I'm just kind of talking to the person out there that, you know, is ignorant about these things, right? It's like, I've never understood that somebody would live their whole life with such hatred in their heart as their mission towards other people, that their last breath that they're going to take, that their proudest moment on their deathbed is that they kept two people alive, or two people apart that loved each other. And that was what their life was spent doing. that they kept two people that loved each other apart because they didn't believe in gay marriage. What's there to believe in? Two gay people loving each other, and that we want some rights around that to protect us. It's not like we're trying to get rich off of it. Trust me, my husband and I paid lower taxes when we didn't file together. So I don't know where people think that we're getting a lot of benefits from all that kind of stuff, or how it's helping us get jobs, or, I mean, all we want is what our rights are, you know? Your proudest moment was that you took down somebody and led to the violence that ended their life, that was trans, that was just trying to live their truth. That's not your decision to decide what their truth is. You know, I think that's like, can we normalize that going forward? That what my truth is about my life and who I am and what my experience is walking in my skin is different than somebody else's, and that's fine. That's okay. I don't know what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes and what it's like to walk in their experience until they share that story with me. Wouldn't it be a more beautiful world if we shared those stories with each other and got to know each other and experience somebody's beauty instead of saying, no, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't know that I'm right and somebody else is wrong. I don't know that I'm wrong and somebody else is right. I don't know until we have that conversation. But we've gotten to a point where we stop sharing. We just act, right? Makes me sad. My mom was right when she said that. And she said, society is not kind to gay people. You know, it's 2024. I came out in 1990. What is that, 34 years? People still want to make comments like, well, if you're going to have a pride day, I'm going to have a straight day. Have a straight day. That don't affect me at all. Have your straight day at all. But let's talk about what that stands for, right? But that don't affect me at all. Have your straight day. Have a straight parade. Do everything you need to do with that, right? Do it. I'm going to stand in the way. I'm going to pick at you. I'm not going to show up, probably, you know? Or maybe I will. Maybe I will, and I'll support y'all, but probably not. But anyway. You know, it's like people get so bent out of shape about that stuff. And I'm like, about Pride Day? About Pride Day? About gay people that were so ashamed to live their truth, that they're finally now out and they're proud of the life that they live, that they can love who they want to live. They can say, I'm Peter and I'm gay, and not be beaten up for that. And not be ashamed. Oh, but we still are beaten up for that, right? People are still killed for that. Somebody coming out as trans and sharing their story, and they're killed for that? And people want to wonder why pride is important to us. This is why pride is important to us. Because we lived ashamed, feeling guilty, feeling dirty, feeling less than, just for being alive. And you come out of those shadows, and you slowly and slowly and slowly feel proud of who you are. I'm proud of who I am today. I'm proud of who I love. I'm proud of my marriage. I'm proud of my family. There's no reason why I shouldn't. There's no reason why you shouldn't, no matter what your story is or what your circumstance is. But I think we have to get back to a point where we can share with each other's stories instead of always having to overpower somebody else, you know? I hope so, one day. June's Pride Month, isn't it? That starts tomorrow. Can you believe it's the last day of May? First of all, I just want to say, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Rhiannon. Maybe. Rhiannon rings like a bell through the night, but who? Rhiannon rings like a bell through the night, and wouldn't you love to love her? I think it was Rhiannon, but I could be wrong. That gave me a bunch of award emojis for vlogging for every day. I vlogged every day in April and every day in May. I don't think that's going to happen in June, but we're going to try our best. We're going to try our best. Keep it rolling. Keep the streak up. I think it was Kayla that said streak. Keep the streak up. So, yeah. So, anyway. All right. I'm going to get off here now. I have to sing the song today because it's the last day of May. Plus, No More I Love Yous by Annie Lennox, which is where that comes. People are like, Peter, it's not One More I Love You. It's No More. I know. Listen, I know my Annie Lennox and Eurythmics, okay? But this song came up on my iTunes today, so I have to do my full outro and sing that today. So, I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Friday, and for those of you, if you haven't heard this, how do I say? Why am I forgetting this now? I hope you guys are having a magically amazing Friday, and if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over, your week over, your weekend over, whenever you need to. Just start it over. And 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. 3, go to the swimming pool. No, that's not 3. And 3, reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Like I always say, it might put a smile on their face. You might be changing their day for the better. You might be making them feel not so all alone. And you might just, I don't know, like giving some hope to somebody. Also, be kind to one another. Love one another a little bit more. And most importantly, be kinder and love yourself a little bit more, because the kinder you are to yourself, the kinder you'll be to others. The more you love yourself, the more you will love others as well. For those of you that are going through tough times right now, I'm sending out prayers and positivity to you. I hope things get better soon. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. And for those that just happen to stick around and want to hear the song, it's not "No More I Love Yous" over here, because I love you. It's "One More I Love You." I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy birthday, Lena.